Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Thursday. It's September 12th. This will be our chart lesson for today. And another bullish today. It started off looking like a range, but we ended up breaking higher and moving higher, and we closed much higher today as well. So we're continuing to push higher after that crazy day yesterday. Um, Looks like anything's possible, but my guess is we're going to continue to push for an all-time new high here. They're talking about lowering rates now, so they're giving the market, uh, they're giving it some fuel to send it higher. So I'll be shocked if we don't see higher prices before it's over. Um, but we'll have to wait and see what we get. So for now, we're still pushing higher, but we could turn down tomorrow. Who knows? So just wherever the market goes, that's the direction we're going to go. So just keep that in mind. Let's flip over to the other chart, take a look at the 2,000 tick chart, go through today's trades, and just a reminder, this will wrap our week up. No chart lessons on Friday, so we'll wrap it up, and we'll be back again Monday. Let's flip over to that other chart now. Okay, here it is. You can see that early range, and we had a little failed break lower. We actually moved a measured move down, and then rallied back into the range and chopped around till about lunchtime. And just prior to lunch, we rocketed out with this really strong trend. Took a good bit of it back, rallied back up again, and just chopped sideways into the close. So not much going on really after about 1:30. But here's the way I saw it. Here's the big chart. We did have a couple of news items, 3 different news items right at 7 o'clock, 7:30 this morning, I guess. So you really couldn't start trading until after 7:30. But let's zoom in here, and we'll go through the chart and talk about the trades. Okay, we had this trend working down. We got a break and a couple legs to a new low, and it looked like we were going to try to bounce out of there, but we never did. And I actually missed a couple of trades here that I forgot to mark. But we'll talk about them as we get to them. But we got the 2 legs down, and then this is close enough. We actually had a triple test on the high side. We just got another range here is all we've got going. I guess I should have changed it and marked it. But you can see that range right there. Pretty obvious. But we had a triple test 1, 2, 3 with a bearish bar here. And then we had pretty close to a triple test. We didn't quite test it right there, but it's bounced at the same lows. So I think you could count this one as a triple test and take this one back to the upside. And then we had a second entry short here, but the signal bar is not good enough, and we made a new high. We do get a lower high here, but this ends up closing with a lot of stem too. And we actually had another bounce right here off the lows. You can see we're clearly getting rejection. It's bouncing real quick. And then all of a sudden you can see here we weren't getting rejection, and prices fell out the bottom. Now what I mean by rejection, prices touch and they reverse and go the other way. That's rejection off the highs, rejection off the lows. This is not real rejection here. That's rejection. This is still rejection, but you didn't get a very good signal bar. And then notice we can't really get out of there. We start dropping, just kind of building sideways, and then we get that doji there. We already had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bars in a row, and this had a 2-bar matching high. So that was not a good sign that prices. This is more acceptance of prices at this price level. And then all of a sudden the bottom gives, and boom, off we go. But you can't go short right in there. This one would be tempting because we did close outside, but you know, our rules say we don't trade with the breakout. We look to fade it, and because most of the time it's going to fail. This is a rare thing that's going to shoot all the way down like that. So just normally I'd say skip those trades, and we don't really get a chance to enter this long or short. If we'd got a good bar right here, I'd have said go long. It's only 7 ticks, but it's just not bullish enough. We run up and we're chopping sideways again. Here's another triple test with a bearish bar. We get another one here. Did this one close in the lower 1/3? Yeah, it's real close. I marked it green. It did make a lower high, close back inside. Maybe you take that, maybe you wait. I'd probably wait. And then you get another triple test here to the upside. I do believe this closes in the upper 1/3. You don't know that it's going to take off, but man, look at that move. Beautiful move. So if you catch this one, this might be all you need today. I mean, if you just catch that, if you can get a runner and you ride that until you get the first bearish bar that you get a close below, and that's going to be right there. So there's 14 points on one contract if you can catch that. And there's no reason you couldn't if you traded it. Now, you may not have been trading, because this is a tight range, you may not be looking for runners here. But the fact that we traded up into this and you kind of get this little push further down, those are matching lows. So maybe you try to get a runner on that one, especially since it was a failed break out of this this blue range up here. You would expect prices to come back and test this at some point. So you're looking for prices to go higher here. You get a close outside, move to a new high, and we're chopping sideways again. But because you get that close outside and you're in this range, and then you get a chance just to short that. As long as you got room to get out, you can take that trade. You get a little failed break lower. I did not mark this one. It's another one you might argue to be green. Traded as a failed breaker, but we're looking for a reversal here. So there's a chance this could pull back here and test the breakout and turn down. So I'm not crazy about it at all. And then in fact, we break to the high side, and where do we turn down? Right off the original range. The signal bar is only like 6 ticks. Yep, 6 ticks. But the problem is it looks bearish, but I don't know if it closes in the lower 1/3. Otherwise, I'd make this red probably. But I think you have to consider the signal bar. But because it's only 6 ticks, I may take that trade. And there it goes again. Boom. Very nice move down. So you get another runner there. And that's definitely a spot you'd look for a runner. This is a bigger range here. You can search for runners. You know, you could try to catch runners on this because you can trend from one side to the other. This was tempting, but this just looks too congested. I'd skip it. And you just get a first entry and then you're just chopping sideways again. And I don't really see a setup here I like. You do get a close outside here in a new high, but you're kind of right in the middle of the range. You expect another leg up, which you do end up getting here. It doesn't go all the way, but you get one. So I don't know that I take that trade. It's a possibility. I wouldn't trade it. I would skip it. You do get a failed breakout here, but no setup. Another failed breakout down here. Again, no setup. You're moving up, close outside, move to a new high, and you get a clear second entry up here. Very bearish bar. The only problem I see with this is it's probably going to be a failed breakout, but it's a new high, and so it's a little risky. But look how far we are away from the EMA. I like this trade. This is one of those that if you can catch it, it will pay off for you, but it's risky. So note that it's green. And I talk about it all the time, these risky trades, especially reversal type patterns. There's two different kinds. There's a reversal and then there's a continuation, or failed second entries, I should say. There's two types of failed second entries. There's a reversal and there's a continuation pattern. And they're very advanced, and there's a reason I don't teach them in the manual. I tell most people to ignore them. Don't try to trade them. Let them come to you organically. And yesterday somebody sent me a question on two of them. You know, they were saying something about, I can't remember, the signal bar wasn't very good. There wasn't very much room to scalp out either, but that's the way reversals are. They're very advanced, and you need to understand them. Otherwise, just leave them alone. So I say that all the time. Maybe this person wasn't watching the videos. Maybe they didn't understand. I don't know. Maybe they wanted to ask anyway. I don't know. But stay away from those reversals. There's a reason I don't teach them in the manual, because all they do is confuse people. They're very advanced, very complicated, and you need to be an expert chart reader to trade them. Now here I am talking about them, and we got one coming up here, so I'll talk about it in just a minute. I didn't really see anything. This was tempting, but I mean, I think it's 20 ticks. Yeah, it's just so big, and you did find support there the last few times, so odds are it's probably still going lower here with that little. Notice that it kind of closed a little higher there. So, but 20 ticks. Now, here's the thing: you might could have got in this with this big stem here. You might could have. I don't know if it broke lower and then backed up, or if it was. This was all part of before it broke lower. I can't remember what it did when it broke lower. So if this broke lower and backed up back into here, maybe you take this trade. If you can cut that, if you can cut that to maybe only 10 or 12 ticks, maybe you take that trade. But I would not go short down here with 20 ticks. And we do get a breakout. It actually fails, but you don't get a setup. You get a higher low here, but that's not tradable. You've moved too far. A higher low should be back down here closer to this low. But guess what? You get a reversal. When this bar right here breaks above this bar, that's a failure. Now that is a engulfing bar. And again, I don't know which way it broke first. I don't remember. I don't think I was actually watching the chart at this point. So if it broke lower first and then turned up when it went past this bar, I like going long on the engulfing bar. If not, you have to wait till this closes and then go long right there. And notice you're not worried about the high, because this is a trout. This is a failure, a reversal. This is where you're looking for a reversal at the low of a range or at the high of a range. So that's a possibility. You don't worry so much about the bar or how close to the high as it is. Now, if you had strong resistance all the way across there, yeah, you'd worry about it. But you're not worried about the last swing high so much. So that's a reversal. That's a failure, a failed second entry that's a reversal. It's very advanced. Most of you'd be better off just leave these alone, don't worry about them, and you'll be better off for it, trust me. Now we're working sideways here. This should be pink. Forgot to color it just to make it easier. And this one is tempting, and because you do have your close outside and a couple of swings up to a new high, but it's sideways. And notice that the last few pushes could not get through that midline, and you don't have much room to that midline. Even though it goes lower, you got to be concerned about it. So I'd skip that trade. And then notice down here at the bottom you get a little failed break lower, and this actually breaks lower than this red bar first and fails and turns and goes out the other side. This is a very bearish bar with no body really or stems. You can go long one tick above that. Now don't go long way up here, but you could go long right there. Now here's a good example. Notice how this broke lower and backed up. If you could get in it to cut it maybe in half, I mean at least in half, maybe more, because that's the 29 ticks. So, but that would mean getting in it way down here, and notice prices don't come back that far, and then they turn and go up. But you could have got a better price than 29 ticks. You could have got, it looks like you could have gotten in all the way down to one tick above the low of that. So you could have gotten in at 67 and a quarter. So instead of 69. So you can save almost 3 points there by getting in down here. But I don't think that's enough. But that's what I was getting at earlier when I said, if a bar's too big, let it break higher and then drop your limit order back in it, and let's see if it'll back up and fill you. But make sure you're saving enough that it's worth the risk. So we get a close outside, a couple legs to a new high, and same thing yesterday. You would think this trend's over, and suddenly you get a new trend working higher. And this is, I mean, this is obvious. This is that strong trend, a very tight range, lots of stems, very shallow corrections. Any signal bar that comes back to the trend line, you could trade. I mean, this one's close. I think it's close enough to, it might have needed to close a tick or so higher. This one definitely qualify. This one's tempting, but I'd wait on the second entry, which comes here. And even then, I marked it green. It is a strong trend, but you generally want these to come back to the EMA. But because it's strong, maybe it doesn't have to, but it's still risky. It looks a little congested. It just gets enough to get out, and then it fails. So it gets exactly 6 ticks, which is exactly what it takes, and then it fails. So, and then of course you get a big move down, close outside. It tries to go lower a couple times. There's another reversal. It's not where you're looking for one or another failure. It's kind of a reversal pattern, but you notice how it doesn't really reverse. It just goes back and tests those highs and then sells off again. And you do get a triple test here, quadruple test, something like that, very bearish bar. I like going short there. I did mark it green because it does push to a new high, but you were looking for a new high here. Notice how we got a close outside here, and we hadn't made a new high. This makes, I think, exactly 1 or 2 ticks higher. There's your high, and you can see that stem sticking through it there. So the high of this bar is 650, and the high of this bar is 7. So you made 2 ticks higher, and then it turns down. So but it closes inside, back inside. I like that one. Maybe you take that trade. You get a lower high here, but it's not tradable. And boom, the bottom falls out of it. So if you just don't really get another chance to enter it, and then it reverses just as quickly. To me, this just looks like one leg down, so I wouldn't count this. Even though by the counts, that's a first entry, second entry, I wouldn't count that as a second entry. And I wouldn't trade that without a break and at least attempt at a new low. Now, you do get a higher low here. It breaks lower and turns up. I don't know which way it broke first, so you pretty much have to, you can't trade over this bar, so you got to wait for this to close. So you might take that trade as a higher low, because you're probably going back to the EMA at a minimum. And this thing ends up just taking all that back again. And we start chopping side. We get the close outside, new high, 2 swings to a new high. I don't see anything you could trade either way here. This one again is tempting, but notice how we only went to the midline the last few times. There's not much room. It would have ended up going lower. You do get a lower high here. It closes back inside. But look, it was only going to the midline. It went a little further there, but you can't risk that. So I don't think, especially this late in the day, so I don't think you can take that trade. And then that took us into 230. So there it is. There's our week. There's our day chart. And really, most of your trades today were trading ranges. Now, I like trading ranges like that because they're very predictable. But, you know, I've been doing this a long time, and some people struggle with trying to trade these little congestion ranges and things. But I like them because they're pretty predictable. But you just have to understand prices and get some experience at it. And, you know, it's like, it makes it much easier because it's so predictable. But there weren't a lot of trend trades here unless you caught them right at the reversals. So that makes it a tougher day to trade. But 90% of the trades today were range type trades. So kind of an interesting day. But anyway, we continue higher. We'll see what tomorrow brings. I think we're going to continue to see volatility like this. Just be prepared for it. But we'll see what Friday brings. But I hope you had a good week. Again, no chart lessons tomorrow. We'll be back Monday. So I'm done for today. I'm done for this week. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.